Okay, all right. So ayan, hello dears. Okay, so welcome now to the part 2 on our lecture on stool culture. Okay, so and for this part, we'll now go to the different pathogens, okay, that we may encounter, okay, in our stool culture specimen or our stool specimen, okay, in our stool culture results. All right. So we'll start first again with your Salmonella until E. coli. So as you can see, these not really. These are all again considered to be kani enteric pathogens, okay? Kani kay non-enteric, all right? And of course, a gram-positive. Sa region lahi, there's one imposter among us. All right, so this is Clostridium difficile, which is a gram-positive organism. The rest kay gram-negative. All right, so we'll now start first, of course, with your Enterobacteriaceae. So this is just a review. Yung different characteristics, okay, dili na ko mo enumerate. But this one lang, reduced nitrate to nitrite. This has been pointed out by one of my students, okay? Ninyo karon. And kay sa mihon daw ang naka-mention is photorhabdus. All right? Photorhabdus and xenorhabdus, I think. All right? Ang nitrate to nitrite, if I'm not mistaken, and sa Bailey's food mo upod. So maybe, because this PowerPoint was made mga 3 years ago pa, so maybe ang gibasihan ani na source is not Mahon or Bailey and Scott's, maybe some other book mo nang nabutang diri. But just, yeah, follow lang Mahon and Bailey and Scott's and I'll try to find other sources po na na-mention ni, na reduced nitrate to nitrite. Okay? But generally, these are the different characteristics of enterics. I do hope ngayon medyo confident na, bisag gamay man lang na ma-memorize or ma-state in full confidence na kanadjong dire-diretso na they are all oxidase negative except for Pseudomembranous Shigella. They're all catalase positive except for Shigella dysentery, mga ganun. All right, so yeah, it takes time but you can do it. So again, general characteristics of your Enterobacteriaceae. Okay, so we'll start first again with your Salmonella species. So these are the different characteristics niya. First, it causes, of course, gastroenteritis, food poisoning, and typhoid fever. Nako, yes, very familiar, typhoid fever. Again, non-lactose fermenters, okay? But there's one lactose fermenter nato, di ba, na late lactose. I think Shigella, dili dito Salmonella. Sorry. Oh, nalimot ako. But anyway, non-lactose fermenters generally, they're all H2S positive except for Salmonella paratyphi A. They're all motile except for Salmonella pullorum and Salmonella gallinarum. They're all lysine decarboxylase positive except for Salmonella paratyphi. And again, for culture media, primary culture media nato for isolation, katong na-mention nato, BSA, SSA, XLD, HE, and for the broth, tetrathionate or salinite F broth. Diba? Familiar din duha, na-mention niya siya sa culture media prep nato na lecture, diba? Okay. That's for Salmonella species. Okay. Alright. So, characteristic lang yun, H2S positive. Okay. Sa motile and kani. Lysine decarboxylase positive. Please take note. Ayan. Alright. Okay. And we'll now go to a very specific species which is Salmonella enterica serotype typhi. Okay. Which is the causative agent of your typhoid fever. And it has a characteristic appearance as stool pea soup. Mura siyag sabaw sa pea. Di ba Tagalog ra? Pea soup stool. And we have this what we call as your Typhoid Mary. Ayan, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but this is Typhoid Mary, also known as si Mary Mallon. Okay? She was considered to be the first carrier of Salmonella. So carrier gid siya. Kay dili siya wala siya nakakause of infection. Carrier siya. Wala siya nakakause of infection of Salmonella infections. Pero siya ang nag-spread of Salmonella all over US man dagito in the early 1900s. And then, actually, nani siya story. Actually, very popular po yung story. Okay, kay she's a cook. Tigluto siya, no? And then, gina-hire siya by rich families all over the US ba to? Basta, nalimot ko sa state, maybe New York or something. And then, kada family na iyang silbihan, magkalibang yun ang family na iyang silbihan. So, because of her naimurag outbreak of salmonellosis niya. And at first pag yun kay dili siya magpatambal, dili reprimand, gi-apprehend, okay, mura siya gikulong or gikuha gyud kay nag-cause lagi siya outbreak. Na nakawala na pud siya, na nag-disguise siya under a different name. Nya bahalag mo ato siya new places Kay ano, like kanang mag-cause siya gyapon siya infection. Like magkalibang gyapon ang mga tao na makakaon siyang giluto. Okay? So close kayo mino, kabatch mango nagchika mi. Charot lang. All right, so si Mary Malon. Why? Because carrier daw siya sa Salmonella. And nakitaan daw na I think sa iyang gallbladder, okay? Sa gallbladder ni Mary Malon, dito daw nagpundo ang Salmonella na bacteria. Okay? So of course, it's quite certain ang yun sa niya pag-spread is maybe wala siya, personal hygiene yun. So, before siya magluto, basta hindi siya maghinaw, gikan siya ng libang and all that. So guys practice personal hygiene yun. So, kanang yung mga cook dira or may mga kailan na mag-cook, always good na tell them to wash their hands before preparing food. Okay? Kaya pwede siya makakause of foodborne diseases, especially ni Mary Malon. Ato ang patrons, patron ng mga foodborne. Okay, si Typhoid Mary. Okay. Alright, so this is growth on BSA, as mentioned ganina, di ba? Green metallic sheen. Specifically, di ba, ang BSA for isolation of S. typhi. And this is a pea soup stool. As you can see, mura siya pea soup. Although wala pa mahukaw ng pea soup, so I don't know jud the itsura, pero inana siya. Actually, mura siyang ice cream na natunaw, no? Murag, Rocky Road. Joke lang, iyo. Okay. Alright, that's for Salmonella species. Next one, you have Shigella. Of course, for Shigella species, it causes dysentery. It's considered to be the most easily communicable bacterial diarrheal pathogen because it only needs a few to cause disease, only less than 200. So, inana siya ka-aggressive. Alright? And you have 4 species or serogroups. Ayan. So, we have A, B, C, D. Okay? And ang ako ang mnemonic ana, D, F, D, S. Okay, so si dysentery, you have flexneri, boydii, and seasonei. Ayan, di ba? D, F, B, S, mo po na, A, B, C, D. Alright, and ang Shigella dysentery or serotype A or serogroup A is the most virulent. So siya ang pinaka-intense effects, okay? And ang culture medium of choice, still the same, SSA, XLD, and HE. Alright, ito na-mention na ito ganina. Alright, and as you can see, we'll now go to its biochem. Ayan, for biochem ni Shigella, as you can see, as mentioned ako, siya ang bacteria yun na negative sa life. Okay? Kay negative yun most ang iyahang results. As you can see, di siya mo ferment of lactose, di pa siya motil, dili siya urease producer, H2S negative, LDC negative, pero mo ferment siya mannitol except for S. dysenteriae, and ornithine decarboxylase negative except for Shigella sonei. So as you can see, medyo negative yun siya sa iyang life. Okay, muna again, di ba kato ko na-mention, do not be confused ato mga mnemonics na na-S because Shigella is always, most of the time, yun, negative iyahang mga results. Okay, so dili yun na Shigella sa ato ang mga mnemonics na IS, okay? Because again, Shigella is considered to be your biochemically inert, okay? Biochemically inert, okay? Di ba? If ang point sa inert, dili kayo tighata og kwarta, inert ka, joke lang. Inert is again negative. Wala dili kayo siya mo positive sa results or dili kayo siya mo, di siya positive kay sa results. So, muna siya biochemically inert, okay? Alright, and then focus on one species, you have Shigella dysentery. Causative agent of bacillary dysentery, so diarrhea with blood and pus. Ayan, so another characteristic po or kanang clue ninyo na makuha from culture studies, case studies na kanang inani na yung mga bloody explosive diarrhea. Ayan, bloody explosive diarrhea that could be caused by Shigella. Bloody explosive. Yeah, butog yun, anag yun. And eye blood. Okay? Because again, it releases also your Shiga or Shigella toxin. Familiar ang Shiga toxin kaysa itong lying organism mo produce your EHEC, E. coli O157H7. Okay. Alright, and growth for an SSA, di ba yellow colonies, colorless, okay, or red colonies. Okay, alright. Next, you have E. coli O157H7, again, also known as your EHEC, enterohemorrhagic E. coli, okay, EHEC, also known as E. coli O157H7. This is its serotype, guys, O157H7. Di ba recall sa na-mention ako, ang O, asa ganina siya makitaan sa body, sa kagaw, unsa ni siya na antigen. This is the somatic O, so makitaan niya sa body. And ang H is flagella. Alright? So therefore, kani mga O and H are the antigens. So O157 ang name sa antigen sa iyang somatic sa body, and H7 sa iyahang flagella. So muna siya, O157H7. Muna yung point sa O and H. Alright? Okay, ayan. So, again, it causes bloody diarrhea by the name itself, enterohemorrhagic. And also what it causes your hemolytic uremic syndrome. So, unsay characteristics sa HUS, low platelet count, thrombocytopenia, hemolytic anemia and kidney failure. So it's very deadly actually. Kaya na hemolytic anemia, kidney failure pag yun, and thrombocytopenia. So very prone to other diseases. So HUS. Yung toxin is verotoxin and it's Shigella yun. So dili dahil siya Shiga toxin, Shigella. So it's quite similar to the Shiga toxin produced by Shigella. And again, culture medium wag na maisa for E. coli 157H7 is SMAC, sorbitol maconchi agar. Okay. All right. Ayan, so lactose fermenter, indole methyl red positive, H2S, VP, urease pad, and citrate negative. Okay, so actually quite the same results with the normal E. coli ragyod. But ang difference lang yun, unsa patong test na mo characterize niya, again, sorbitol negative and MAG negative. Okay, please take note. That's for E. coli 157H7. Di siya mo ferment og sorbitol negative and MAG. Okay, katong 4-methyl-umbelliferyl something test. Taas. So MAG negative. All right. Ayan. Okay, and this is the characteristic, di ba? Kung pink on SMAC, the typical E. coli. And for colorless, you have your, of course, E. coli 0157H7. Okay, all right. Ayan. Next, we now go to Yersinia enterocolitica. Ayan. For Yersinia enterocolitica, it causes still gastroenteritis. And ang ano ra gyud is characteristic, it grows well with cold enrichment. Kisa pa itong laing organism na ganahan po ng cold enrichment, you have Listeria monocytogenes also. Alright, pero cold enrichment for Yersinia, it's motile at room temp, so 25, 22 degrees Celsius, but not at 37, okay? Gram stain niya is gram-neg cocoa bacilli with bipolar staining. Late lactose fermenter, MR, urease, ornithine, and sucrose, positive, di ba? Urease, appeal siya sa C-keys, sa C-keys, di ba? Lamig kayo na kamukha akong ano? Char lang. C-keys, okay. And culture medium is, of course, the CIN agar, cefsulodine, ergazan, novobiosin. Silang tulo, these are antibiotics, of course, that inhibit the growth of other unwanted organisms, okay? But it's the culture medium of choice for your Yersinia enterocolitica, CIN, cefsulodine, ergazan, novobiosin, agar. Okay, so paano akong i-take note sa Yersinia. Alright, because again, it likes 4 degrees Celsius, or ganan siya bugnaw. That is why Yersinia enterocolitica is considered to be the most common, okay, most common contaminant. Tama ba? Most common contaminant of blood bags. Okay? Alright. Tama ha? If I'm not mistaken, just tell me if sayop ba ko pag mabot mo blood bank sa second sem, ha? Or sa, yeah. But as far as I can remember, most common contaminant of your blood bags, Yersinia enterocolitica. Because your blood bags are stored at ref temperature. So, ganun siya 4 degrees Celsius man. So, siya ang considered to be the most common blood contaminant. Tama ba? Most common contaminant of blood bags. If ako nasayop, guys, ha? Basta na-mix na ako siya, nasayop na akong memory. Anyway, alright, ayan. That's for Yersinia enterocolitica. Okay, alright. And bipolar staining under gram stain. Okay, alright. Again, and we have its characteristic or culture medium of choice, your cefsulodine ergazan, novobiosin agar. So again, inhibitors niya are the antibiotics na tulo ka box, CIN, bile salts, and crystal violet. Again, para Yersinia ra gud ang matubo, alright? Indicator is still neutral red, okay? And carbohydrate is mannitol. Alright. And again, characteristic, di ba? Bullseye colonies, nako. Very gas-gas din na ano na ginamention ako, di ba? Sukad pa sa intro to micro ninyo. Bullseye colonies on CIN, Yersinia enterocolitica. Ayan. So, growth on CIN and muna siya bullseye, di ba? So, you can see na siya is center na murag bullseye. Yes, bullseye colonies. And of course, bipolar staining. When you say bipolar staining, ang ends ra ang nag-stain. Ayan. So, mura siya safety pin appearance. Alright? So, bipolar staining on gram stain. Now, for bullseye colonies on your on CIN, kinsa tong laing organism na mo exhibit ana, you have Aeromonas. Okay. Again, di ba na-mention na ako ni, still Aeromonas is bullseye colonies on CIN and also Yersinia enterocolitica. So, unsa tong test if you want to determine kung asa nila, if you want to determine or differentiate Aeromonas and Yersinia enterocolitica, knowing na same ra sila og appearance on CIN. Unsa na test? Oxidase. Ayan. Sana naman na-answer lang to before pa na ako giingon ng answer. Because again, recall nga no ganing oxidase. Because Aeromonas is oxidase positive, di ba? Appeal man siya sa mga vibrio. And Yersinia, which is an enteric organism, dili siya negative. Recall, di ba? All your Enterobacteriaceae are oxidase negative. Okay? Please take note. So, unsa na test to differentiate the two organisms na mo exhibit og bullseye colonies on CIN? Oxidase test. And kinsay oxidase positive? Euromonas. And kinsay tong oxidase neg? Yersinia enterocolitica. Okay. Alright. Sana naman. Okay. Alright. And another one, another species of Yersinia is your Yersinia pestis. Okay? Or your plague bacillus. Plague. Diba? Causative agent of your black plague. Diba? Black plague. Or the black death. Diba? Black death. Alright? Kani siya mo, napod siya bipolar staining or safety pin. Okay? Pares lang appearance sa Yersinia enterocolitica, but kanilang siya is under Wayson stain. Okay? Lahi na stain. Alright? Safety pin appearance, ha? Safety pin appearance. Wayson stain. Alright? Yersinia pestis, which is, again, your plague bacillus, causative agent of your black death or black plague. Okay. Alright, that's for Yersinia. Alright, so we'll now go to your Vibrio nazii. Ayan, so mga Vibrio natin, of course, your non-enterics na GI pathogens. So first is, of course, the gram-neg curve rods, oxidase positive, reduced nitrate to nitrate, except for Vibrio mechnikovii, susceptible to vibriostatic compound 0129, positive on string test using 0.5% sodium deoxycholate, halophilic, again, except for Vibrio cholerae and Vibrio mimicus, culture medium, Carrie Blair for transport, APW for enrichment, or pwede po APW for transport, and TCBS, the culture media of choice, TCBS. Okay? I hope na medyo familiarized na ani. Alright? Okay. And next, for Vibrio cholerae, again, agent of cholera. It produces enterotoxin, your choleragen or cholera toxin. Characteristic stool, rice water stool. So compared sa imuhang typhoid fever, pea soup. Alright? For cholera, it's rice water stool. Na-mention na po din siya sa inyong non-enteric na biochem, di ba? Okay? And yellow, colonies on TCBS, kaya mo ferment siya og sucrose. And so as you can see, rice water stool, siya ka ng tubig na after ninyo i-wash gani ang rice, di ba? Kana siya, inana yung appearance. Alright? And TCBS, yellow colonies kay sucrose fermenter imuhang Vibrio. Alright. So again, because of the toxin, cholera toxin or choleragen. Alright, okay. And next, we have Campylobacter species. Of course, Campylobacter gram-neg rods, di ba? As mentioned, seagull-winged. So inana yung appearance, mura siya kanang murag bird na imong gina-draw, di ba? Kanang every time sa elementary na mag-draw ka og bundok, duwa ka buok, then kato palay, and then na ay sandri sa tunga, and then na ay birds. Di ba? Very, very popular. Inani pa akong drawing sa elementary. Di ba? Ana mo dyan na usually. Alright, anyway. So, again, that's for Campylobacter. Oxidase positive, catalase positive. Most are asaccharolitic. H2S positive also. Microaerophilic, again, grow at 37 and 42. And the culture media of choice, specific yun, Campybap, Skiro, and Carrie Blair for transport. Okay? Campylobacter species. And according to, I think, Bailey or Samihon, Campylobacter species is the most common cause, okay, of gastroenteritis, okay? Gastroenteritis in the US. Alright? The most common cause of gastroenteritis in the US is Campylobacter species. Okay. Alright, and for specific species, you have Campylobacter jejuni or jejuni. Alright? May cause gastroenteritis and extraintestinal infections. As mentioned ako, Guillain-Barré syndrome. Guillain-Barré. Again, it's ascending paralysis. Alright, from the foot up to the taas. Because again, instead of ang antibodies mo attack sa imuhang Campylobacter, iyang i-attack imong peripheral nerve. So it's an autoimmune disease, okay? Ang imuhang own immune system is attacking your own healthy cells. So makakos siya paralysis, okay? Ascending paralysis, okay? Gray to pinkish, yellowish gray, slightly mucoid looking. Ayan. So as you can see, ang Gram-stain mura siya seagull, na siya mga curve, okay? And growth on Campybap, okay? Na-mention mo na ako ng Campy sa rectal, I think. Diba? Tail effect. Tail effect ba to? Na murag gasunod-sunod. Kung asa ka gastric, gasunod-sunod sila. Alright? Tail-like pattern. Okay. Alright. And the last organism that we may isolate from stool is your Clostridium difficile or difficile. But I think ang new name niya ron is Clostridioides. Okay? Clostridioides difficile. Okay? Alright. Ayan. So it's a gram-positive organism. Ayan. So again, it's considered to be an agent of Clostridium difficile associated disease or pseudomembranous enterocolitis or antibiotic, okay, associated pseudomembranous colitis. Okay. So, nag-pseudomembranous colitis ka due to intake of antibiotics. And kung saan na antibiotic, clindamycin. Ayan, diri si clindamycin. Because of too much siginga, o clindamycin ga take. Alright? Produces exotoxins A and B. It's a gram-positive, no? Siya rin nalahi, spore-forming rods, Clostridium. Iyahang spores kay oval subterminal, meaning if kani ang rod, okay, oval siya, subterminal, dili gyud sa tumoy, hapit na sa tumoy. So, naadiri iyahang spores. Okay? Alright, ayan. And aerotolerant anaerobes, culture media of choice, anaerobic BAP, because again, it's one of the anaerobes. And CCFA, cycloserine, cefoxitin, fructose, agar. Okay, alright, ayan. So, that's for Clostridium difficile. Now, unsa ding antibiotic associated, no? Di ba, na-mention na to sa start sa lecture na, if ang patient na admit nag 3 days, na dili diarrhea iyahang cause, admitting cause, or diagnosis, it could be due to Clostridium difficile. Because again, remember, the patient during the 3 days could have been given antibiotics. Alright? Like example, clindamycin. Now, because of too much clindamycin, pwedeng nawala na tong mga normal flora sa imong tinai or sa imong GI system. So what happened is pwedeng mo-grow ng Clostridium difficile. Alright? And dito na maka-cause og infection. Dito na maka-cause og enterocolitis. Due to, again, too much intake or too much injection or too much paghatag sa clindamycin or antibiotic. Okay? Alright. And for C. difficile, ayan, this is ang yang gram stain. Again, oval subterminal. As you can see, wala agad siya sa kani mga rugby, dira muna siya ang spores. So wala agad siya sa end. Okay, nara siya hapit sa end muna, subterminal. Alright? And on CCFA, ayan, yellow ground glass colonies na muna siya horse stable. So kanang iyang odor kimura kanana sa mga kabayo. Alright? Namakay mga kailang kabayo siya. Horse stable odor and ground glass colonies. So as you can see, ground glass. Mura siya sinaw na glass. Okay? And this is an example of pseudomembranous enterocolitis. Ang pseudomembrane contains necrotic debris, so mga namatay na tissue, WBCs, and fibrin. So as again, this is caused by antibiotic, no, na too much na paghatag. So, kinsa antibiotic, clindamycin. Okay, so that's for Clostridium difficile. And another characteristic there of Clostridium difficile is mufluris. Okay, mufluris siya og chartreuse. Ayan, familiar ba ning chartreuse, guys? 'Di ba sa Miss Universe si Miss kinsa to siya? Miss Makati ba to? Nalimot ko. Basta nalimot ko siyang name. Katong iyang favorite color kay chartreuse. And then siya, spell chartreuse. Green na lang. Okay? So, chartreuse, ayan. So, ang chartreuse, sa back then na ako na-learn before pa ni Miss Universe contestant. Diba? Chartreuse, ang color niya, actually, yellow-green. So, pinaganda mo pa ang chartreuse. Yellow-green na siya, guys. Okay? So, mufluris siya o chartreuse or yellow-green. Ang Clostridium difficile. Again, it's an anaerobe. Alright? Okay. So basically, that's it for our stool culture. So as you can see, always wash your hands atong end. And yeah, basically that's it. We have introduced the pathogens na gyud that may be isolated. Alright, so if ever magani, as you work along, makita niyo mo ng mga characteristics, then of course you perform the necessary biochem tests to identify them. Okay, muna na ay mga gipang mention na mga biochem characteristics. Okay, because as you work along, example na kay stool culture, and then muna mo nakitaan sa different plates or culture media, then you perform the necessary biochem to really identify your organism. Okay, and then after AST na pod, to determine the antibiotics that can be used against them. Alright? Okay, so basically that's all for stool culture, guys. I do hope medyo na-gets lang and clear to. So I'll see you on our next pre-recorded lecture. If you have any questions, again, just PM me or chat sa atong group chat, okay? So yeah, thank you, dears, and have a great day and keep safe.